Stop for a second. Imagine you're standing somewhere in South America about 8,000 years ago. No cigarettes, no cigars, no pipes, no vape shops. No warning labels printed on colorful boxes. Just forests stretching for hundreds of miles, and one strange plant growing quietly among thousands of others. Now imagine someone notices something odd when the leaves dry and accidentally touch fire. They produce a smell unlike anything else in nature. Sharp, sweet, almost hypnotic. The smoke hangs in the air. Someone breathes it in. They cough violently. Their eyes water. Everyone around them probably laughs. And then, a few minutes later, something unexpected happens. They feel different, relaxed, light-headed, maybe strangely focused, maybe dizzy, maybe connected to something they can't explain. Here's the question. Who was that first person who looked at smoke, a thing every animal instinctively avoids, and thought, I should inhale that? Because when you think about it, smoking is one of the strangest behaviors humans ever invented. We spend millions of years evolving lungs designed to keep smoke out, and then we deliberately start putting smoke back in. Why? Where did that idea even come from? And was the first smoker just experimenting, or were they trying to solve an entirely different problem? As it turns out, the answer begins long before cigarettes, long before civilization, long before written history, and it's far stranger than most people realize. Let's go. First, we need to forget everything modern smoking looks like. Forget cigarettes, forget tobacco companies, forget nicotine addiction. Those belong to the last few centuries. The story begins thousands of years earlier, when humans already had a complicated relationship with plants. Ancient hunter-gatherers weren't simply eating whatever they found. They were chemists. Without knowing the word chemistry, every plant represented a possibility. Could you eat it? Could it heal wounds? Could it stop pain? Could it kill you? Could it make hunting easier? Could it change the way your mind worked? Over thousands of generations, people experimented. Most experiments ended badly. Some plants caused vomiting. Others caused hallucinations. Some quietly destroyed your liver. Some stopped your heart. The people who survived remembered. The people who didn't became the lesson. Anthropologists sometimes describe traditional botanical knowledge as one of humanity's greatest intellectual achievements, because before laboratories, the laboratory was the forest itself. Now, here's where tobacco enters the story. Wild tobacco isn't especially pleasant. In fact, it's surprisingly harsh. Many species contain even more nicotine than modern cultivated tobacco. Chewing raw leaves often causes nausea. Swallow enough, and it becomes poisonous. So why keep using it? Because nicotine does something remarkable. Within seconds of entering the bloodstream, it reaches the brain. Heart rate changes, attention sharpens, mood shifts. The nervous system responds almost immediately. To ancient people, this probably looked less like a recreational experience and more like magic. Imagine discovering a plant that changes consciousness in less than a minute. Without understanding neurons, receptors, or neurotransmitters, what conclusion would you reach? Probably the same one many ancient cultures eventually reached. This plant has power, not ordinary power, spiritual power. Now, here's something fascinating. Humans probably weren't trying to invent smoking. They were trying to use fire. Think about campfires. People constantly threw different plants into them. Some smelled pleasant. Some kept insects away. Some produced thick smoke. Others burned almost invisibly. Eventually, someone noticed certain plants did more than smell interesting. Standing near the smoke changed how you felt. That accidental observation may have started everything. Because smoke enters the lungs incredibly efficiently. The lungs contain an enormous surface area, roughly the size of a tennis court. They're designed to move molecules into the bloodstream astonishingly fast, which means inhaling plant smoke delivers chemicals much faster than eating the same plant. The first smoker may never have intended to smoke at all. They may simply have been sitting too close to the fire. Now, there's another clue hidden in archaeology. The oldest direct evidence of tobacco use comes from the Americas. Researchers have found charred tobacco seeds at archaeological sites in what is now Utah dating back roughly 12,000 years. That pushes human interaction with tobacco far deeper into prehistory than anyone expected. But here's the important detail. Those seeds don't automatically prove smoking. People may have chewed tobacco, mixed it with food, or used it medicinally. Smoking likely came later, after people realized burning the leaves changed the experience completely. And that's exactly what happened across much of the Americas. Long before Europeans arrived, hundreds of indigenous cultures already used tobacco, not casually, ceremonially, religiously, socially. Tobacco smoke became a language. Prayers traveled upward with it. Treaties were sealed with it. Shamans entered altered states using it. Important decisions happened around it to many communities. The smoke wasn't escaping, it was carrying messages. Think about that. The same substance many people today associate with convenience stores was once treated as one of the most sacred plants on Earth. Now, let's ask a strange question. Why tobacco? After all, there are thousands of psychoactive plants. Why did this one spread so successfully? Part of the answer lies in nicotine itself. Nicotine is unusual. Unlike alcohol, it doesn't immediately make you lose control. Unlike many hallucinogens, it usually doesn't separate you from reality. Instead, it subtly changes attention, reaction time, alertness, mood for hunter-gatherers. Those effects may actually have been useful. Imagine sitting silently for hours, watching an animal trail. Anything increasing focus, even slightly, might have felt valuable. Some anthropologists have even suggested nicotine could have been appreciated during long rituals, extended hunting trips, or periods requiring sustained concentration. Not because ancient people understood receptors in the brain, because they understood results. Now, here's where evolution enters the story. Why does nicotine affect us at all? Plants don't produce nicotine for humans, they produce it against insects. Nicotine is literally an insecticide. Its original purpose is defense. The tobacco plant evolved chemicals that poison small animals trying to eat it. Humans accidentally discovered those same chemicals interact with our nervous system in a completely different way. It's one of evolution's strangest coincidences. The plant evolved to stop being eaten. Instead, it became one of humanity's favorite crops. Now, imagine Europeans arriving in the Americas during the late 15th century. They encounter something completely unfamiliar, people deliberately inhaling smoke. At first, many Europeans considered it bizarre. Some believed it was sinful. Others believed it was miraculous. Within decades, tobacco had crossed the Atlantic, then Africa, then Asia, then virtually everywhere. No plant in history spread across the globe quite like tobacco. Kings smoked it, sailors smoked it, doctors recommended it. Some physicians even prescribed tobacco for headaches, digestive problems, toothaches, and respiratory illnesses. Ironically, people once believed smoking could improve lung health. History has an extraordinary sense of humor. Now, here's the twist nobody sees coming. The invention that truly transformed smoking wasn't tobacco. It was paper. For thousands of years, people mainly smoked through pipes or wrapped leaves. Then, someone realized finely shredded tobacco could be rolled inside thin paper. Suddenly, smoking became portable, fast, cheap, repeatable. The cigarette changed everything. An occasional ceremonial practice slowly became an everyday habit. Then, industry arrived. Machines replaced hand-rolling. Factories produced millions. Advertising followed. By the early 20th century, smoking wasn't just normal. It became fashionable. Doctors appeared in advertisements. Athletes promoted cigarettes. Movies made smoking look sophisticated. The plant hadn't changed. The environment had. And that's something you've probably noticed across all of human history, whether we're talking about food, sleep, obesity, or smoking. Our biology changes incredibly slowly. Our environment changes unbelievably fast. The human brain that first experimented with tobacco thousands of years ago is almost identical to yours. But the ancient smoker encountered tobacco occasionally. The modern smoker could buy hundreds of cigarettes every month. Same brain, different world, completely different outcome. There's another fascinating detail. Many indigenous cultures treated tobacco with extraordinary restraint. Specific ceremonies, specific seasons, specific quantities. It wasn't something used constantly. Because powerful plants demanded respect, modern industrial society did almost the opposite. Instead of asking, when should this plant be used? It asked, how can people use more of it? That single change transformed one of history's oldest ritual plants into one of history's largest public health challenges. Now, let's return to that very first smoker. Whoever they weren't trying to become addicted. They weren't imagining cigarette breaks during office work. They weren't thinking about billion-dollar industries. They were simply another curious human, doing what humans have always done, experimenting, observing, testing the natural world. Sometimes those experiments gave us medicine. Sometimes they gave us agriculture. Sometimes they gave us fire. And sometimes they accidentally created habits that would outlive entire civilizations. So, who was the first smoker? We'll probably never know. Maybe it was a hunter sitting beside a fire. Maybe a healer experimenting with unfamiliar plants. Maybe a child throwing leaves into flames just to see what happened. History rarely remembers the first person to try something strange. It only remembers the billions who followed. And perhaps that's the most remarkable part of all. One unknown human, one forgotten campfire, one curious breath taken thousands of years ago, may have started a tradition that eventually reached every corner of the planet. Not because anyone planned it, but because that's how so much of human history actually works. Civilization isn't built only by great inventions. Sometimes, it begins with someone doing something that everyone else thought looked completely ridiculous, until it changed the world.